Speaking of the borrower, so what are some ways that an underwriter can really help out a borrower? Not, so the borrower isn't viewing the underwriter as, hey, this is the the bad guy that you want to avoid, but instead this underwriter is there to help the borrower make this loan happen, right?
Yeah, and that's where we come back to the question of what is a good underwriter. And a good underwriter is the one that's going to help the borrower, not the one that's just looking out for the bank or the financial institution they work for, but also wants to help the borrower and get them approved. So the things that I would, the way that we can help the borrower is say, look, if you know you have any problems, just tell me up front what those problems are. And I'll see which way we can do to mitigate or do something about those problems so we can get your loan done, right? Sometimes the borrowers will hide information or not tell you this or give you the information at last minute or something like that. And the underwriter is going to find out at the end what's wrong with the loan. If you tell the underwriter up front, there's a better chance of you getting your loan done, because the underwriter will know what to do to mitigate those circumstances. And I love when brokers come in and say, look, I got a deal that has these hairs in it, these problems, can you do something about it? I love those deals. Guys says, okay, now I know what to work with, right? Other deals, you find out at the last minute that there's a problem with it, and then you're trying to help out, and maybe that's too late. So I would say for the borrower, give me all the information up front, and if you know of any problems, tell me up front.
Excellent. And if the borrower is a business owner, is there anything specifically with regard to business borrowers that would be particularly helpful to understand? Or
well, for business borrowers, basically their ability to make payment is what we look for. So tax returns, profit and loss. Sometimes they say, well, we've been performing pretty bad for the last 2 years, but we're going to be performing good the next. Well, explain why that's going to happen, right? I want to be able to understand.
Okay. And sometimes you mentioned before, like they may need to do TIs, which tenant improvements to the property to get up occupancy if it's a multi-tenant rental type property, right? So there are situations when we know that the situation they're in now isn't going to be the future, right? So what are some situations that you've seen where you've had to underwrite kind of the story, right? And using the term the story, right? The explanation of what happened in the past and how is that different than the future, right? So can you rely on that, the expectation that things are going to be better?
Well, in terms of vacancy and things like that, we can look at what the market has been doing, right? And if the market shows that the market vacancy is 10%, 5%, whatever that is, in this building it's currently 50%, you can understand that there's a high possibility that you'll get those tenants in and you'll match what the actual market is doing. If the property is in a good location and you see that, well, the only reason why that's happening is because there is no tenant improvements, the property looks ugly or whatever, and those things can be fixed and the borrower is willing or has the money to do that and has an exit strategy for that, then there's a reasonableness behind it. So then you're willing to do that loan because the market and everything else determines that property should be able to get tenants in there.
And for owner-occupied properties where they're running their business out of it, are there situations where you can underwrite past performance differently than expected future performance?
That's a little bit more difficult, but it is possible. Understanding what happened. There's been some cases where there have been sickness in the family. The president of the company was sick, had a heart attack or something like that. It's over with, and they have contracts for the future, and you can see them. And that's why they're doing a loan. They need some cash out to be able to fulfill these future contracts. Then you're looking at something in the future that has happened in the past before, but not in the immediate past because of what happened. So yes, you can look in the future. It's more difficult for businesses itself, but it is possible.